Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you are enjoying whatever you're reading or not reading. um, Even if you're getting it in like a few pages a day, that's good. A page or two, because I know some people are really busy and you can't just stop whatever you're busy with, and sometimes you're just too tired. I get it. The book today is When the World Fell Silent by Donna Jones Alward. I think that's how I pronounce her last name. It is, like as they say on the blurb here, a novel of the 1917 Halifax explosion. I hate when authors, when they have that, or even a novel. Um, just kind of bugs me because obviously it's a novel, unless otherwise. I wish it was just this and not this little blurry thing. I think it's ridiculous. Anyways, I will post in the show notes a link to the to some information about the Halifax explosion. Anyways, I will read the flap and we can. 1917, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Nora Crowell wants more than her sister's life as a wife and mother. As World War I rages across the Atlantic, she becomes a lieutenant in the Canadian Army Nursing Corps. They were nicknamed Bluebirds. I read a book last year called Bluebirds, or the year before, I can't remember. But trouble is looming, and it won't be long before the truth comes to light. In more ways than one, trust me. Having lost her beloved husband in the trenches and with no one else to turn to, Charlotte Campbell now lives with his haughty relations who treat her like the help. It is baby Aileen, the joy and light of her life, who spurs her to dream of something more. When tragedy strikes in Halifax Harbor, nothing for these two women will ever be the same again. Their paths will cross in the most unexpected way, trailing both heartbreak and joy in its wake. This essentially is a debut, and it's actually quite well written. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5, so very close to a 4. I think for me, it was just a little too simplistic and a little too neatly wrapped up. And some of the stuff that was done felt very, it just felt a little too simple. I initially gave this a 3.5. But yeah, it's a fairly decent book. And it is heartbreaking in some moments. I did a combo of reading the book and using the audio, and audio wasn't that great. I felt that some of the voices were a little too, a little grating on my ears at times. But it was a pretty good book. I was first introduced to the Halifax explosion over 30 years ago, probably about 30, almost 33 now, because I was 12 at the time, so that I can tell you how old I now am. I just aged myself right there. Oh well, no one really cares. But at the Halifax, one of the museums on the water, I may have actually heard about it earlier in a book I read. It's sort of a child's I don't know how to describe it. It's called The Story of Canada. It's by Janet Lunn. And it basically it's a comprehensive look at Canadian history from the time of Indigenous peoples to the early 90s. I'd say about 1990. So it's not, it doesn't now, and so yeah, none of the modern history, so she doesn't talk about, the book doesn't talk about anything like the Quebec referendum in 95, that is not in there. Canada's role in Afghanistan isn't in there. Yeah, any book like that. I have another couple books like that. I think another one, at least, that looks at us as a nation, that was tied to a sorry, I'm just looking at my bookshelves. Oh, I do have both of them. I thought I did. Yeah. And it's just a really good overview of Canadian history from about time of the Indigenous people through European conquest, through that sort of thing, and the formation of Canada. So it's up until about 1990, like I said. Then the other, I may have mentioned it in there. I don't know. I'm not precise. So that's what I'm trying to say is I don't know. And then I know the time that I really got introduced to it was the Halifax Maritime Museum, where I think they may still have a permanent display of they had a display on a thing on the Halifax explosion and its impact. And I had never heard of it prior to 92. It's one of those things that, just kind of filters in the back. And because we're not on the East Coast, it wouldn't have been an important part. And interesting thing about the Halifax explosion is that it was the largest man-made explosion during wartime up until the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945. And that's impact. So, fun fact, just saying. And I really don't like that she doesn't make mention of that, because if you look at a map of how devastating this was, and how many people were killed, first of all, and how many people, and its impact in Halifax. The day, I think it mentions in here too, the day after the explosion, a snowstorm came through. And there's a relatively famous heritage moment that Heritage Canada did during the 80s and 90s, where there's a telegraph operator in Halifax who's trying to stop a train from coming into Halifax because of that. And it's rather interesting and relatively good. I'll probably link to that as well if I can pull it up. Anyways, Halifax explosion, really interesting and I'm glad somebody wrote a nonfiction book on it. I know it took a Canadian author to do it, and I was kind of disappointed in its simplicity, but it was a pretty good book. I did like that there's a bit of a romance in there, in the book, but I wouldn't say it's too much of the book. I think it's not fully romance, but But yeah, that was When the World Went Silent by Donna Jones Alward. Before I leave, just a reminder to visit my social media links, and also to visit my bookshop.org to buy this and other books that I reviewed, or even any book you want. Sorry about that. These are and I will let you know, these are unedited. So what you see is what has been recorded. There's no editing. So if I do something and it's 10 and a half minutes in, it's not getting cut out. And I do not follow the script. So yeah, and also to remember to like and subscribe these videos. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you can pick this book up somewhere, whether it be through your library or through a bookstore. Anyways, bye for now.